something I'd like to do to help you out to try and make the structure a little easier so you can think of it as a big picture. When you're writing an example of what one of the questions will require you to answer, you'll see here there's WHS obligations for employees and managers and lots of elements that relate to workplace health and safety. And within that, of course, there are elements of hygiene to maintain safety, and within hygiene, there are elements of infection control procedures. Now, as you write this, you may realize that there is the potential for a great deal of repetition. What you can do is write the broad description giving a high-level view of what is required that would cover a broad range of circumstances, many different circumstances. So have a moment to think about how to write it so the answer will address many varieties of situation at large. And those would be the primary steps. And then you could put in it that, let's say for a minor WHS incident, that you wouldn't need to make a report. However, for a substantial one, a minor one could be an oil spill that is cleaned up. That's a hazard, but it's been resolved. You may not need to make a report for that. However, if someone were to be injured, then it might require that forms be completed and that is addressed. So you would write it in a generalized sense that would state, in the instance of an event, that you would do, A, B, and C to control and reduce the risk. And then you would also address the point that if it is a more substantial incident that requires reporting where someone has been injured, then you might have to come down to other elements within it where you're talking about, let's say, infection control because someone has been injured and is bleeding. So, if the incident involves bodily fluids, you would then direct them to this part, H, in your document. And the other component that you would direct them to might be, for example, record keeping. So you might have to, make some records of what actually has occurred with the incident. And you can use these and also address back to, for example, the signage and say, that a sign should be put to demonstrate that there, is the potential for slippage or there's a wet floor or something similar. So, you would write it in the context as, if this is required, please use signage, and then as per policies for safety signage, KL, sorry, that's L. So you can see where I'm going with that. You need to think of it in a way, so you're going to write and look through everything in this, and I'll walk you through it in a moment, but you're going to write it in a way that you have a big, broad picture for each concept, and then within that you might give one detailed example or two detailed examples if it needs that for perhaps a lower instance or circumstance and a more substantial instance, where someone's injured. So you might put in the two different scenarios with greater detail underneath as an example of what would be done. And then you direct people to read the other areas. For example, you might need safety equipment. If something has to be cleaned up, someone may need safety goggles or something similar. And I'll address those with a little more detail in this video for you. So have a look at this next part and you should see a little bit of information about these elements. There is also within the within the files on Connect, you'll find that there is a template for you to complete. You can do it as a Word document or as a PowerPoint. A lot of people find the PowerPoint easier to work with. It's very easy to dump files and things in. However, referencing is easier in a Word document than in PowerPoint. Remember the referencing procedures, APA format, and that will have the author or the person that created the material, the artist if it's a photo, and then after that it'll have the year, and then you'll put that in your bibliography at the end. Okay, so let's kick in to the next part.